Hey guys, so I'm back to show you the next steps on this beauty. So we painted it last week. We just did the appliques and had a lot of fun with the IOD molds a couple days ago. And then you all asked to see what we're gonna do next. So what we're gonna do is actually distress it. So I'll show you my method for that, because there's definitely ways and tips that will help you with distressing and distressing naturally, as opposed to it can be challenging sometimes, so it takes a little bit of finesse. So we'll be distressing it, and then I will show you how to wax it, and we're going to use my favorite wax ever. So this is Tourmaline chalk paint by Maison Blanche, which is this right here. We had a little vote on it, gosh, I don't even know, a couple weeks ago, and it was this color, and I can't even remember the other ones. I think like a white and a black, some very neutrals, and then this pop. And everyone loved this color, which makes me so happy because I love this color too, and I'm even happier now that it's on here. I think it's so pretty, and it's gonna be a great project. So this has been my sample board throughout it, and I've been trying to consider things that I want to do with it. So first I thought maybe like this dancing like metallic coming up the legs. I thought that might be fun. Turns out it's, oh, there you can see. It's not as opaque as I wanted, so I am going to use this on something, and this is Maison Blanche Metallique, which is a it's a metallic paint, and it's water-based. It's really cool. I like it a lot, but I'm not going to use it on this project. And then, oh, can you see the sparkles? So this is the sparkles. So I thought that might be fun. This is actually a sparkle varnish by Maison Blanche. They have so many like super fun products. So I played with that a little bit. I'm not gonna use that. And then these are the 4 waxes that we're considering. So waxes are really fun for creating another look to your piece, adding more dimension, and you know, you can really use it to alter the color. So if you're not like thrilled with what you have going on, using a wax on top of that, or a glaze if you're using other products, will change the color slightly and might get you to a place that you like. So what I have here are white. So this is a Maison Blanche white lime wax. So that totally changes the color, like you can see behind it. It would be much lighter. This is a clear, so you can see this keeps it consistent. So if you love this color and you absolutely adore what's going on, using a clear wax is simple and easy and will keep that color. This is Espresso. So this is actually my favorite. We use this a lot when we're gonna be waxing. So this is a really deep brown, but it has some like gray and black undertones. So it plays very nicely. I don't love yellow browns, and this doesn't feel that way. So I like that a lot. And then this is the black lime wax, which we use all the time. I love it. I think it's so cool. It's the most important part of our smoky pearl finish, if you've seen that. But I use it all the time, so I wanted to try something different and show you something different. So what we're gonna use is this Espresso. And this is gonna be really great for all over, but especially in these details. So you're gonna see more of these crevices. The wax will stay in there, so you can really enhance that look, because waxes are great to add dimension and add character. Well, enhance what's there. You can add with it too. So that's the plan. I'm Kelly with Captiva Home. We are a furniture painting business in Central Mass, and we do a lot of these tutorial events. I love taking you guys through the whole process. So on our page, we do a lot of the kind of voting on a finish, and then I'll see you through the whole thing. So we've already painted it live. I have done the molds live because this was kind of boring. And then now we're going to distress it and wax it, and that will be the end of it. Oh, and the hardware. So the hardware is like so pretty. We're gonna use these super fun acrylic knobs. So these are gonna go right there, and they're just gonna jazz it up a bit, and they're really gonna be a pretty touch, because this is a pretty piece, and I wanna make sure that we do that. So that's gonna be fun. Thank you so much for sharing. So sharing helps us so much. As a small business, we are huge on online marketing and meeting people online. That's how we met you. That's how we meet new people. So every time that you share our stuff, that really helps us out a lot. And that's true with any small business. So the most important thing you can do to support them is just to share their content, like their stuff. I can also see your comments. We have a new setup, so I can actually see finally your comments very big. So if you have any questions, please let me know. If you're watching on the replay, thank you so much. I know a lot of you will watch on the replay, and I can still see those comments. So give me a like if you are watching on the replay. And if you have any questions, please type them in. We get notified all the time, and I try to be really active and responsive. So thank you so much. I think that's it. So let's get going. What we're going to start with is sanding. So these are my favorite sanding pads ever. You can see I already started a little while ago, and these are great because they're squishy and they really feel nice on your hands, and they allow you to get a really nice natural distress, as opposed to if you use too, I guess, low of a grit. So if you use like an 80 grit on this, it's just going to chew up your finish and it's not going to look very good. If you use a higher grit, you have more control over it, and I find that having these foam-backed sandpaper allows me even more control, and it's also quite nice on your hands. So if you're sanding a lot, that can be troublesome. So I love these, and all you're going to do is quick swipes. What I like to do is just get it all over a little bit, and then go back and hit those areas that I want to see more definition in. And let me know, like, have you guys ever distressed furniture? Have you had any trouble with it? What has been your experience? Like, you can type it in, and then I will come back and do the points that are more likely to be naturally worn. So like the sides of things, the corners of drawers, like you're probably going to hit those. So think about like how you would use this piece. So you're probably going to maybe bump into the legs on the corners a little bit. You might see the corners over here be distressed more naturally. It's unlikely that you're going to see like the big flats here to be super distressed, or to have like one spot that's like worn through to the wood when the rest of it isn't. So keep in mind like what a natural distress might look like. So this is, oh, you should be wearing a dust mask. I'm not, because it's a little weird. But if you are sanding a piece, you definitely want to use a dust mask. This is a chalky paint, so you can see it already rubbed off on my fingers. It does powder off quite nicely, and then it changes a lot. So throughout this whole finish, you'll see we have the color of the paint, and then you sand it and it changes a little bit, and then you add the wax and it changes a little bit, and then when it dries, sometimes that can take a little tone difference too. So it can be a little unnerving if you love what's happening and then you do another step, but it's all going to come together at the end. One thing I'm doing here is I'm trying not to sand the mold, because that is white underneath. So you do want to consider what your base color is, because that's what's going to pop out. So if I was to sand this, we'd see some white coming, which I did it by accident right there. And then you'll see that. But the rest of it has that, this color underneath. So we're going to see that pop out, which I think will be quite nice, because we are going to leave this natural, and I'm going to use a nice finish on it to keep it clean and give it a little bit of refreshing, but I didn't want to paint the insides. So we'll see that color come through on the edges. Another thing to keep in mind is to try to go with the grain whenever possible when you're doing anything with furniture. So whether you're sanding or painting, staying with the grain is going to be more of a natural look than if you were to sand up and down this entire piece. That would be a little odd. So yeah, just sometimes when you distress, it can make the paint look a little streaky. It depends on what kind of paint you're using. You might be using too low of a grit of sandpaper, so that can also happen. If you use a very low grit, like this is 320, and it's also felt back foam, so it's quite soft, and you're going to get a smoother finish. So this will also help your finish be nice and smooth once you wax it as well. But if you use too low of a grit, so if you use like 100 grit or 80 grit, you might just see that there are like lines, scratches throughout it instead of like sanding nicely. So keep that in mind. A lot of it's trial and error. So you do have to figure out with your specific brand of paint how to handle that well, and also your style. So this is what I like to do. It's not necessarily the right way or the best way, but it is the way that we find that works well. So you might have a different style. You might love to see like distressing all over the place. That's cool. So everyone has a little bit different style. So you can get this sandpaper on Amazon, of course. We have an Amazon shop there, and we have linked it up. These are by, I think it's Merca. They're kind of hard to find, so if you go into the notes, we have linked it right there. So if you go to amazon.com/shop/Captiva Home Decor, we've gathered all of our favorite stuff, and this is one of the things, because you know, there's so many options on Amazon. It's hard to find exactly what you want, and I want to make it as easy as possible for you all. And if you really want to make it easy, you can go to our, also in the notes, if you get our Furniture Painting Essentials document, then that has direct links to all of our favorite things. So you can grab these, you can grab the little furniture movers that we use all the time. So that's why I can like slide the furniture around, because we use a lot of little dollies and they're fantastic. And all kinds of other little stuff. So that's all there. So is this super loud for you guys? I don't know, it might be. The sanding can be a little noisy, but that will go away very soon. So you can see I'm going everywhere and then focusing on the edges. So let's see if we can get a close up there. Oh, so here we go. So see how we have the wood popping through there? You might not be able to too well, but that's what I'm looking for. So I like to see just a hint. And the other thing is, this is a great way to ensure that your finish doesn't look wrong very quickly. So if you paint your piece and it's pristine and perfect and everything looks incredible, and then, you know, life happens and you get a ding on it, now it detracts from the look. Now it looks like you have a ding and there's something wrong with it. Whereas if it's lightly distressed, it's gonna wear much more naturally. So now if there happens to be another ding somewhere, it just might look like the rest of the finish. So that can be a great way to kind of prepare yourself in case you have any, you know, life, pigs, animals, things happen. We have a 2- and 4-year-old, and they are wild. So we know that like anything that we bring into the house needs to be very durable and not pristine. So we love a little light distress. And one of the other, oh, you see that? Yeah. So one of the other things to keep in mind is like, this is a nice curve right here and it projects a little bit. So if you're walking by it, you're gonna kind of knock that a little bit. So I'll sand a little bit more there. And you can get a really smooth finish by sanding your chalk paint because that, you know, chalk paint is textured. And then when you sand it, it's gonna smooth it out quite nicely. And then adding the wax will smooth it even more. And you can also use that to play up the texture even more. So here you notice I didn't get too close. One, because I didn't want to rub off the paint that's on the mold, because then we'll see the white come through. But also, because now this is still more textured than out here. So the wax is going to settle into the crevices, settle into the texture, and then smooth out over here. So that'll give some really nice definition and it can help you enhance your piece. Like if you're looking for, so on the edge here, so I want this to be a little smoother, and then I won't get as aggressive with sanding in here, because that will allow you to see more of a lighter color here and a little more shadows and definition in those spots. So stand all over. And I always try to kind of grab it with my hand and then use a flat palm because these will work better that way. And then we're almost done with this part. So it goes really quick. Shut this. And then you also want to check for symmetry. So right now I was just looking over to see whether we have approximately similar distressing. I wouldn't want to see a ton of distressing over here and then almost nothing over here. That would look a little uneven. So that's what I'm doing there. Can you guys see what's happening? Let me know what you think. Do you like what's happening? I love your feedback. I love hearing the things that you like, the things that you don't, as long as you're nice. And then kind of seeing what I can help you guys with more. So if you have any questions about, you know, different finishes or challenges that you run into often, we have been painting, I've been painting since 1999, and I love it. I think it's fantastic. We've picked up all these tricks over time. So there's a lot of things that I just kind of naturally do that might be able to help you out with something that you're struggling with. So I'd love to share. We are also doing an online class. So that is coming up in just a few weeks. It's on October 6th, but if you sign up this weekend, you save 20%. So that's pretty cool. All you have to do is use the code LEARN, kind of like back to school learning. So that gives you an opportunity to join our online class. And what we're gonna do is a piece from start to finish. So it happens on Saturday, October 6th. But we're going to be doing it, it's really kind of like a month-long thing. So we will do a prep live video a few days prior to that, probably like Wednesday or Thursday. And that way I'll be starting my piece and you can start right alongside me. And you can go along the whole process with me. So we'll be prepping it and then we'll talk about also how to select a piece and a finish that are going to complement each other. Because there are definitely some pieces and some styles that lend themselves better to certain finishes and other times that you might want to avoid a certain finish on a certain style of thing. So we can talk through all that. And you can also, we'll be in a private Facebook group so you can submit your piece and I'd love to give you feedback about like, you know, what I would do if there's anything that like kind of sticks out as a red flag to me because there are definitely things that you notice that you can anticipate might be an issue down the line, and if you catch them quickly, you can avoid a lot of frustration in the end, like bleed through. So there's that. And we'll be doing the class on Saturday, but you don't have to join live. So I will be live for 2 or 3 hours, and we'll be painting the piece and doing the finishing aspect. We're gonna use General Finishes Milk Paint for that, and then you can view it anytime. So the class is gonna be, the group will be open for about a month, and then you can view that at any time and you can submit your project. I'd love to see what you do, and I'd love to help you if you have any questions with it. So it's gonna be a private group, it's gonna be fun. I'm really looking forward to it and I hope that you guys are too. So that is happening, I guess it's only like 5 weeks from now, but if you sign up sign up by Monday night, you can use that code LEARN and save 20%. So that's pretty cool. And you also get, a discount to our shop. So you'll be able to buy some stuff, maybe from us, maybe from wherever, but you'll have a discount for our shop if you want to pick up some General Finishes stuff. So this is ready for the next step. So we've just if you're just joining us, I'm Kelly with Captiva Home, and we are doing the next steps on this project. So we've already painted it with Maison Blanche vintage furniture paint, and that is, I know it's kind of hard to understand, Maison Blanche, White House. This stuff is incredible. It's a chalky style paint, and I really, really like it. It has a nice open time, it levels quite nicely, it sticks to everything, and it also powders off. So you can see my hands have a little cast of green. So there is a lot of, so it powders nicely, but you don't end up in like a cloud of paint. Paint powder. So there's that, and then we added these molds. So we used the Iron Orchid Designs molds, which are super fun, and this is my first time using it, but I'm a big fan now. It's basically like Play-Doh, so you just squish them in and then take them out, and these are actually the ones that I did on the video the other night. So I just left them there and they hardened up quite nicely. So if I wanted to, you know, you could add all kinds of stuff all over the place, but we're just gonna keep this one simple. So we did that part. And then we just sanded it, and now I'm going to use my handy microfiber cloth and just wipe down all of the piece so that I can capture all that sanding dust, because you do want to remove that before adding the wax. And it gathers it up pretty nicely, and these are great because all we do is just throw them in the wash, and then you can reuse them many, many, many times. So we'll also use them in our care kits for all of the pieces that we send home with our clients. We include these cloths because they're really nice. They pick up all the dust, and they're just nice to work with. So if you have any more questions, where are you guys from? I love seeing how we are reaching people from like around the world. I think that's so cool. It's amazing what Facebook is capable of. So we are based in Central Massachusetts. So if you're local, we're also doing more in-person classes. So those are happening also in October. But we're in Central Massachusetts. But I love seeing that we're reaching people from like, I know I've seen a bunch of Europe, Australia, New Zealand for some reason. And it's really, I think that's awesome. So thank you. All right, so now that it is clean, we are using our Maison Blanche, there we are, antique wax. This is absolutely my favorite wax ever. We've been using this exclusively when we wax for about a year now. It goes on quite nicely, and you don't have to use clear wax first. So that's really incredible, because many of these other waxes, you have to put a base of clear if you want to do brown, and then your colored wax on top of it so it doesn't like bite in too hard. But with this, you'll see I'm just going to slather it on and then wipe it back, and it's not going to kind of mud up like some other ones do. So I like that a lot. I also have a t-shirt. So I like to keep, you want to have a whole lot of rags and you want them to be consistent. So I have one shirt that I cut up and it is ready to go. I expect that I'll use 2 or 3 cloths, but I always have extra because you don't want to run out, because these will soak up the wax, and then once they get saturated, you're going to want to move on to a cleaner one, and then so on and so forth. So I kind of work them down the line. So all I'm going to do is use my chip brush. These are cheap. These are, not the best. I'm sure there's much better things, but this is what I have, and it works fine. So eventually I'll get a wax brush, but we haven't been waxing a whole lot lately. So all I'm going to do is rub it in. And, Scotland, that's awesome. And then I'm going to wipe it back with a rag. And then once it dries, you can buff it, and that's gonna remove, the excess, like extra excess. And then also give it a really nice shine, and it's so smooth. So after you sand it and then wax it, like I wish you could feel this, because it's gonna feel really good. So we're gonna start with, I guess we'll go over here. So all we're gonna do is rub it in, and can't really see that too well. Another thing I like about this wax is it has a nice open time, so you don't have to like scramble. So I'm actually going to cover this entire piece in one pass. And when you're painting, you do want to try to segment it nicely. So this is Maison Blanche Antique Wax. This is my favorite. This is Espresso. This is my favorite of the colors. They come in, I don't even know, like 10 or 12 colors. There's a lot. But this one has a really nice, it's brown, but it has a lot of like gray and like just kind of black, I guess, undertones. So it doesn't read yellow, which I don't like yellows that much. And it always looks just so pretty. We have a lot of pieces that we've done in this color, and those are always very popular. So with this, and any details, you really want to make sure that you get in there. So I'm going to approach from a few different angles, kind of wiggle it around, because the places that are hardest to get into are where it's going to be the most beautiful. So take the time to really get in there, and that will help your finish quite a bit. What do you guys think? You like it? Give me a heart if you like it. I love to see those. They're fun. They pop up really cute. We love hearts and nice comments. Not the angry faces. We don't like that. But thank you all so much for watching. And actually, someone said replay, but this is live. So you are not catching the replay right now. It is currently 7 o'clock. Or 7:30 in central Massachusetts where we are. Okay, so now that we have everything really saturated, looks pretty messy, we're gonna fix that. So what I'm gonna do, and something to keep in mind when you have rags, you wanna make sure that they are consistent. So if we're cutting up all kinds of old things, and we have like big lines of the seams, and then you have like the collar, and then some other things, when you go to drag it, you might drag a seam, and that's going to be obvious. That's going to potentially mess up your finish. So this is a time where you might want to invest in that bag of rags, which I really like. That's in our Amazon shop, because it's worthwhile to avoid having an issue. So all we're going to do is start wiping away. Can you see that? Yep. So this is altering the color a little bit. And since I do have some excess, I can kind of use it to rub along. I'm going to hit this while I have it. And I'll get that in there. So even while you're wiping off, you can still use that excess. Because like I said, the rag is already pretty saturated. So I know. So I was getting ready today, and I noticed that I had a shirt that's the same color as the piece, so I thought, well, that's pretty smart. So that was intentional, but it just worked out nice. So here we go. Now I'm just going to continue wiping, but I'm not going to get deep into those crevices. So I'm just kind of lightly brushing. Is that better? Yeah. So, lightly brushing off the tops. One thing So a reason that you don't want to use chip brushes, can you see that? No, but I have a whole bunch of bristles that are now deposited on my piece because I use that cheap brush. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Yes, they're cheap, but that's because they're kind of a pain. So now I have to make sure that I'm really watching to remove all those bristles because I don't want to leave it in there. That would be not fun. So like there's another one. And now I'm just going to continue wiping until I am happy with the way it looks. These molds are really fun. So this is the color of that wax. So you can see it's really nice, dark, deep brown. Sorry, the angles are weird, but I do have to do this right. So we are waxing. So thank you for joining. What we're doing today is waxing our piece. We have already added these pretty molds, painted it a pretty color, and now we're finishing it with the espresso wax. Another thing to keep in mind is that your wax, like see how easy this is to wipe off? There are other ones that are much more challenging. This one just smooth. I love those little hearts. Really, really easy to work with. And since it is also warm in here, that allows your wax to spread a little better. You'll definitely notice if you are waxing, in the dead of winter, it's harder to manipulate. If it is a little bit hotter, it is easier to move around. But that's it. Yep, so see how pretty that is? That looks fantastic. You can get a pretty good look at that. Yeah, there we go. So really, it looks so nice. I'm digging the molds. The color is fantastic. And the wax works really well. So now my rag is kind of saturated. So this is a time where I consider making sure that I have another one nearby so I can grab it if I need to. So now I'm just going to continue roaming around the piece. I've already hit this lip. And whenever you're painting anything, you always want to keep an eye on the stuff that you already did because it's possible that you get a little paint on it. If you're painting, you might notice a run, and you want to make sure that you grab that before it dries and becomes like an actual issue. So now I'm just going to continue around here, and we'll do this side first, but I don't want to hit that. So remember how I said everything's on wheels? Makes it so easy. So this leg actually had some repairs. Can you see that? So what we're going to do is highlight its history. I'm not going to fight that. And no, the sandpaper is not $60 per pad. It is, you're probably looking at the 100 pad option. We have these big rolls of them. And I think those are about 60. But they do have, there's a listing for like 25 or something that's like much more manageable on our Amazon shop. So here, rubbing it in. It's funny. So I'm going to do the whole side here because since this wax is so nice to work with, I don't have to be like super aware of like wiping it off immediately because it stays open for a while. Yes, the wax is fluid. That's a great word. It's very fluid. So all I'm doing is grabbing a little bit. This is our Maison Blanche Antique Wax. We do have a link in the notes. So we're an affiliate for Maison Blanche because we love it. Really, really works nice. We've been using it for quite a while and then recently became an affiliate, and this is why, because it's so easy. And it also has really good results. So it's not just easy and not gonna work well. It works really well and it's easy to use. So that passes our test. We've been using it for about a year now. And it's the only wax that we use. So we don't use anything else for a wax. Sorry, I'll be up there in a minute. So this piece is actually like a piece that we will have for sale. So as much as I love to demo it for you guys, I also have to make sure that it's done right. So yes, this is Maison Blanche Wax in Espresso. I think they have probably 10 different colors. I know there's like latte and dark browns, light browns, black, white, all those good colors. And if you click through the link in the notes, the Maison Blanche, it has a ton of just like really fun products. And we grabbed some recently. So we have like sparkle paint and sparkle varnish and sparkle, I think there's sparkle wax, metallics, like all kinds of just really interesting ways to finish. Oh, and boucle. Let me know. This stuff is super cool. Do you guys like that? Is that a finish that you would like to learn how to do? Because it is a boucle, it's called boucle, but it's really quite interesting. You can't see it there. It almost looks like linen. So if you want to learn how to do that, let me know, because I'm considering doing a live on that, because it's really interesting and fun to work with. It's also really weird. It's a super weird product. It's like gloopy. Because I'd love to know like what other finishes, what other things you'd like to see us work with. We are, I don't know, wanting to push some boundaries. Do some fun things as opposed to safe things. So if you have anything that you would like to see how it works, let me know. And this I'm just wiping off. Oh, you used it? See? All right, so remember how I was just saying you need to watch your whole piece? I just hit that by accident. Can you see that? There's a little bit of wax there. So I can wipe it off quickly, but if I hadn't noticed that, that could have been really ugly tomorrow. So you always want to watch your piece. And this piece has some really great character, which is just being highlighted by this dark wax. So let's see if you can see that better. Maybe. So we just continue waxing. I always like to go with the grain of whatever I'm doing. And I like to have a fresh little pad. Okay. And that is that. See how easy it is? Super simple, and it works really, really nicely. Do you want to see the other side? Like, should we stay on and do that, or do you want, do you have enough? So I'm gonna do the other side. Yeah, whatever, we'll just do it. So that like that. So you do wax it. With this wax, this is the Maison Blanche Espresso wax for anyone that's just joining. Sorry, the camera is like really weird today. So we are applying it with our little chip brush, wiping it off with a rag, and then once it dries, we will buff it. And it's really easy to buff. That's why another thing that I love. It's really just so easy to work with. So what I'll do is, you could do it in like an hour or two, but I'll do it tomorrow morning, is you just wipe it down with a clean white rag. So I'll use another clean rag of the shirt that I was using, and then buff it real quick, and it shines up really nice. It's so easy to work with. It's really lovely. I think it's just a great product. And you can see how like easy it is to apply. And notice I'm not using a clear slip coat. Many waxes you need to use clear before you can add your colored wax so that it doesn't like bite in and sink in as much. And then this one, it doesn't. So it's very, I guess, translucent. It's so easy to work with. And then it cures in about, a month should be safe, but 2 to 3 weeks. And that's just all of the, till it gets to like its best protective value. Keep in mind that waxing is a softer finish, so this is not something that I recommend that you should do on like a very high use area, like the top of your kitchen table. Not something I would recommend, although I know that some people do. Wax stays a little softer, and it wears very authentically and very beautifully. So if you're using, if you pick a finish in a piece that complements, then that's fantastic. So you want to keep that in mind. It would need to be, well, depends how you want it to wear. So if you want to keep it in like the original condition, like right when you finish it, then you would want to reapply it at some point, but it's hard to say exactly when because it totally depends on the finish. Depends how you use it. Depends a lot on the way that it's handled. So that could be like, a year from now, it could be 5 years, it could be never that it needs to be reapplied, but it's really hard to say exactly. Oh, sorry. But with like a piece like this, it has a lot of character. So if it obtains any more character, that's only going to add to it. Now, if you're trying to wax like, a really pristine piece, like if you had I always think of like mid-century modern pieces. So those are really sleek and usually shiny, but the lines are supposed to be, pretty clean. That I don't typically like to wax or use a chalk paint on, because I feel like it should have a high sheen finish, or at least solid, clean. Scratches are not going to enhance that or any kind of like character. If you have like a farmhouse piece or something like this where, the beauty is in the imperfections, then using a wax and a chalk paint, they might wear a little bit more, but it's gonna like add to the overall character of the piece. It's not gonna detract from it. So like earlier I was saying how there's some pieces that lend themselves really well to certain finishes in products, and others that I don't recommend diving right for. So that's my thought process. And that's why we have like 2 major lines of paint that we use. So we use the General Finishes milk paint for anything, we'll use that a lot. That's our go-to. but we use that when we want like a really clean finish. If we're looking for more of like a farmhouse style, then many times we'll use this because it looks beautiful and it feels so nice. I really wish you could feel this. And again, remember how I was saying look at your piece? That would be another issue, but I can still wipe it off now that I caught it. So that's it. So what we've done today is, nope, the link is in the notes. So I have a whole bunch of links up there. So there's links to our Facebook page. If you don't already like us, please do. We are coming up on 10,000 likes. We're only a couple hundred away and we're pumped about it. So if you could share or invite your friends or whatever, make sure that you've liked it yourself. That would really help us. And we are going to do like a giveaway or something awesome when we hit 10,000. So you can help with that. We also have links in there for YouTube. So if you are on YouTube or whatever, just go like it because you need to hit 100 subscribers in order to get a custom URL. So then I could have, you know, YouTube at Captiva Home Decor instead of all the numbers. So that should be in the notes. There's also the notes to the Amazon shop. So that has all of our links to the things that we were using. And then the Maison Blanche is also in there. So that's where you can get the wax, which is the one that we're using today is the antique wax in Espresso. So this is really pretty. But you could also do any of these other ones. So earlier, if you're just joining, I'll show you this again. This is our sample board. This is my thought process. So this is the Tourmaline with white wax. This is with clear. This was the Espresso, so you can see that's what happened. And then this is the black. So this I think would be a great finish. I've just used black wax too much lately, so I wanted to do something different. And then I've also linked up the IOD molds. So these are available on Amazon. This is the one that we used. I think it's like a French scroll or something. So this is that one, but there's a whole bunch. And the paper clay, this is what we use there. And then the actual paint is Tourmaline, Maison Blanche Tourmaline. It's gorgeous. I love it. And I'm so glad that you like it too. So give me a heart if you like it. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. My name is Kelly with Captiva Home, and we just did this whole project. So that's it. I'm going to stage it, and it'll be for sale. And my shirt matches the piece. Yeah, it does. Did that on purpose. So thank you so much for joining me. Please come again. Have a great night.